This is the Orioles Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, everyone. It is 1:15 on a Saturday morning as we're talking about the Baltimore Orioles' 5-4 loss at the hands of the Athletics late Friday night, spilling into Saturday. This is the Baltimore Orioles Postcast. My name is Luke Slabaugh. I am with you for every O's game that we can muster. This is streaming live on YouTube. It's also available on demand wherever you get your podcasts for free on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am just a complimentary piece, bonus content for this Locked On Orioles show. Connor Newcomb's 5-day-a-week show is still a thing and is still chugging along, doing great. If you support this show, you support his by extension. Let's all be friends. What a difference a day makes. Your whole life can go topsy-turvy. You can learn things that you never learned before. Someone can stab you in the back. Whole narratives can change. And the trajectory of a baseball season can change in 24 hours. The Athletics, who do not have a complementary defining location, they're in West Sacramento these days, entered into this game 16 games under 500. And prior to this, they blew out the Minnesota Twins yesterday, 14-3, on the heels of having lost 9 games in a row and only having won 1 game of their last 20. What a difference a day makes. Athletics fans are perturbed. They're some of the most irritated and wrathful fans in baseball because if they're from Oakland, they've been abandoned in the Coliseum with it. As John Fisher and the A's look to move to Vegas eventually someday, maybe 2028. And in terms of fan irritation and disappointment, the O's know the same thing. They were at one point 17 games under 500 and then prattled off 6 wins prior to tonight's affair in California. But what's really going to stick in O's fans' craw is the performance in this game and how they could have won it. The O's had this game served them on a platter. The A's gave them this game. And looking back, the opportunities were squandered. And they came up pretty much every inning leading up into the 9th. We're going to talk about each one of them.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Didn't like that this was a scheduled day off for Gunnar Henderson. You got to win ball games. And you got to have your best players out there, especially on the heels of having hit a home run, his 8th of the season in the finale against Seattle yesterday. It did not make sense for someone who's starting to heat up and had kind of an up and down season so far to be put on the bench. And you're going into what is playing as a hitter's park, Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento, in the Pacific Coast League, usually for the River Cats. This would be a great environment for Gunnar to tee off and maybe start a little bit of a hot streak. We're going to talk about the top of the 6th, which pretty much could have been where the O's won or lost this game. 1 out, Colton Cowser on first. Right-hander Grant Holman on for the Athletics. And Kobe Mayo doubles to center field off the wall. His first extra base hit as a major leaguer. Cowser is hesitating at second base, waiting for the ball to hit off the wall and for it to be played. He can't score with Seth Brown playing that carom off the wall. So Cowser's at third, Mayo's at second with 1 out. You have 2 opportunities to bring this on home and drive in a runner in scoring position. How do you mess this up? Dylan Carlson, who to his credit had homered and walked already in the game, strikes out swinging. And yet, you have 1 at-bat to play with. Maybe extend the inning with a plate appearance, maybe get a walk. Jorge Mateo's at the plate, 9-hole hitter. You got to have a major league hitter at the plate in that scenario. And I say this with all due respect to Jorge and the team and Tony Mansolino and everyone. But in that situation with 2 outs, 2 runners on, game hanging in the balance here in the top of the 6th, you only have a short window after this before Mark Kotsay and the A's start going through bullpen situations and playing the matchups. This is the opportunity to pounce because you don't know if you're ever going to get anything good again. They would get another good opportunity. They would squander that as well. But Jorge Mateo's at the plate. You got to have a major league hitter there. What does he do? I'll give you a guess. Strikes out swinging. Momentum killed. You got to have Gunnar Henderson pinch hit in that situation. You know what this reminds me of? This is going to be a very crude analogy, but it's 1:20 Friday going into Saturday, and I've had a day, and you've probably had a day. You remember when Disney tried to make a Star Wars trilogy? Everyone was all excited. They bought Lucasfilm from George Lucas, paid Grandpa $4 million to go away. Didn't want to hear about midi-chlorians anymore or how the Force was made. You know, nerd stuff. I love the original trilogy from the 70s and 80s. Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, bopping around, saving the galaxy, redeeming Luke's father. I got called Luke Skywalker all the time, and I got the I am your father every day in elementary school. I'm a little bit scarred. But they're all well-developed, fleshed out characters. They're funny, and they each had their talents. They're all 5-star actors, characters. It's a reason why it's untouchable. It's a great work of art. Original trilogy, bangs. And then Disney tried to make some money off of it, and to their credit, they succeeded, made a few $1 billion. But those 3 characters are never seen together in the movies. Why? You got a team that's brittle. Everyone's breaking down. Ryan Mountcastle ain't going to be back for 3 months. Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Colton Cowser. Maybe add Kobe Mayo to this and Ryan O'Hearn if you want. Jackson Holliday. They all need to be playing together. Full stop. You can rest Gunnar Henderson maybe another time, but for a team that's clawing and trying to get back on track, and to its credit, had won 6 games in a row under interim manager Tony Mansolino, your chances in that game are running thin. You don't know if you're ever going to have it that good again. It doesn't make any sense. And what makes it even worse is that Henderson eventually does get in. Top of the 8th, 1 out. Who do they lift him for? Kobe Mayo. Colton Cowser's on second base after doubling, and Henderson works a great at-bat and he walks. Dylan Carlson works an excellent 9-pitch at-bat after the fact and walks. So you have 1 out again. And then the A's bring in right-hander Mason Miller, their fireball or closer. And at that point, you're like, it's game over.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Who do you have on the bench? With Mateo lingering, Maverick Handley, Heston Kjerstad, Emmanuel Rivera. And that's when I was like, yeah, game's over. Kjerstad flails, doesn't see it out of the hand, strikes out on 3 pitches. And Miller, turning over the lineup card, wipes the floor with Jackson Holliday, gets him 103 up and in. Mateo, to his credit, just missed extra bases and what could have been a 2 RBI hit, top of the 4th, 2 outs. Kobe Mayo and Dylan Carlson had walked with 2 outs against left-hander JP Sears. And Mateo hits a fly ball to the left center field wall. Center fielder Denzel Clark catches it, makes a great catch, and bangs his shoulder on the wall. Eventually would be lifted for Seth Brown. Another example of when the A's gave this game away to be converted into an O's win. Top of the 7th, left-hander TJ McFarland on. Jackson Holliday hits a routine dribbler to the second baseman, Luis Urias. And for some reason, he hesitates on the exchange, can't quite corral it, and Holliday's booking it down the line, sprints and gets in for an infield hit. You're being gifted a base runner in crunch time. Adley Rutschman, as he has been prone to do, grounds out into a double play. And you're thinking, man, momentum's killed. Ramon Laureano, back in the lineup, back off the injured list. Hits a ground ball to third baseman Max Muncy. Not that Max Muncy, 22-year-old Max Muncy. However, he was born on the same day as the older Max Muncy. They were both born on August 25th, but 12 years apart, and they're unrelated. Muncy makes a throwing error. Laureano's on. So you got 2 outs, and Ryan O'Hearn at the plate strikes out. Getting outclassed and outmanaged by Mark Kotze in the A's? That doesn't sit well, especially the way this team had been playing. They do have a chance to get 2 more wins and win this series, and then it'll be no harm, no foul. This is a game they should have won. And honestly, not Dean Kramer's fault that they lost this game. He'll get the L, and he wasn't great, but he made some good pitches when he needed to, and we've been giving him a hard time all year. They should have scored more than 4 runs in this game. Full stop. Full stop. They squandered back-to-back-to-back innings with prime opportunities to really stick it to the A's. The A's they had the shovel, and they were starting to dig. Couldn't do it. So coming up, we're going to talk about Dean Kramer, his performance, where it went wrong. Ramon Laureano back. And then some of the good things that the O's did. First time in a while getting a good performance against a left-handed starting pitcher. That was the big book on them in April and May. And we saw some good performances early on. So stick with us. And thanks for being up late. It's 1:27. This is the Locked on Orioles postcast. Show's brought to you by FanDuel. NBA Finals are on. Man, I love it. Game 1, perfect example. Buzzer beater by Tyrese Halliburton. Got some swagger. A lot's been made about the way that ESPN is presenting the finals, that it's not being built up enough. And you got 2 mid-major markets. Technically, you could say Oklahoma City is a small market. But as we've noticed, there are so many good times and opportunities to get in before tip-off and live. Player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. And so FanDuel says fans have more opportunities than ever to get in on the action. Connor and I were both bullish on the Thunder. It still might be. But I was thinking about this. Rick Carlisle's a heck of a coach. He's got a finals under his belt, won a championship with the Mavs with Dirk. Didn't get along with Luka, apparently. And this might be a renaissance for good old Rick Carlisle, his second go-around in Indy. So maybe they're the team. I don't know. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to get in on the action. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now let's get back to business. I'm irritated tonight. It's been a day. Bad pitching job by right-hander Dean Kramer. And at times I was curious of whether it would be the ballpark, the elements, or the situations that got to him. As has been the book on Dean Kramer for most of the season, he could not hold a lead. The shutdown inning eluded him. And yes, that is on him. This is an earned loss for Dean. Offense did him dirty later on, but still. Handed a 3-0 lead, and bottom of the third, he walks the leadoff man, Luis Urias, brother of Ramon. Denzel Clark then has a nice piece of hitting to center field. To be honest, I didn't think it was that bad of a pitch. Sinker kind of running in on the hands. So you got runners on first and second with 1 out. Lawrence Butler at the plate. Behind 3-1, and this is where Dean just does a get-over pitch. Fastball over the plate. Butler hits line drive to deep center field, kind of confuses Colton Cowser. It might have been one of those Adam balls where he just off the bat, the angle was right at him. It deflects off his glove. Runner scores, and it's a 3-1 ball game. You could argue that Cowser, with more seasoning and more reps this year, rather, probably could have caught that ball, and certainly a Cedric Mullins type would have that ball. The walk bites Dean Kramer, and sure, a good center fielder catches that ball. However, the A's probably still get runs in this inning. Jacob Wilson, who's a phenomenal rookie, gets what registered as a splitter at 83, but not much break, right on the shoe tops and pokes it to left field. Carlson doesn't have much of a throw home. Like the 2 runs have already scored, and it's 3-3. Jacob Wilson, by the way, son of Jack Wilson, a major leaguer who I totally forgot existed, but when I saw the picture, I was like, I remember him from like Triple Play 2002 on the PlayStation or MVP Baseball. Longtime Pittsburgh Pirate, drafted by the Cardinals and traded for Jason Christensen. That was a win-win for everyone. So Dino's in his head, and the next pitch is a meatball to Brent Rooker. He doubles to center, and there's still 1 out in the inning. You got the infield in for Tyler Soderstrom. He hits a ground ball to Kobe Mayo at first. Kobe can't corral it, so the run's going to score, and the A's get the lead 4-3. But then he's able to flip it to Dean Kramer, who's covering first. Great example of PFP. And then the O's get that run back. Jackson Holliday hits a solo shot in the bottom of the 5th, tied at 4. Yeah. You get a hard single by Lawrence Butler. Wilson singles to left. It's deflected by Ramon Urias. Ruled a single. And then Brent Rooker just gets just kind of fists one to center field, broken bat single, and it's 5-4. And that's how we got here. Final line on Dino is 5 1/3, 5 earned runs, 8 hits, 1 walk that does come back and bite him, and 2 strikeouts. Like I said, honestly, not his fault. And you could argue that he should have protected the lead that was given to him. Totally get that. I would reckon that there's a lot of fireworks early on. The O's, you got to score more than 4 runs to win this ball game. They had a good hitting performance against the left-handed starter, JP Sears. Complementing that, I mean, kind of detracting from that, rather, was the just ungodly 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position and 10 left on base. And 6 runners left in scoring position with 2 out. 3 from Mateo, 1 with O'Hearn that we mentioned, and 2 with Holliday. We did see Dylan Carlson hit a home run in his return to the Bay Area. Continues a 7-game hit streak for Dylan Carlson. That was a 2-run shot that put the O's up in the top of the 2nd. Ramon Laureano hitting a sac fly in the top of the 3rd. High fastball that he just got a bit under. He had homered on his rehab assignment to AAA Norfolk. In a corresponding move, outfielder Jordan Adams was designated for assignment. And right-hander Scott Bluette is back in the fold, acquired for cash considerations from the Atlanta Braves. Bluette had a couple good outings, kind of took one on the chin, was extended quite a bit. Early on this season, one of that rotating bullpen arms, they had to DFA him, the O's did. He latched on with the Braves. However, the peripherals had always hinted that it was gonna get his comeuppance. Like, was getting hit harder than what the ERA showed, especially when he was with Minnesota early on this year. Jackson Holliday hits a solo shot as well in the top of the 5th, his 8th, continuing his bid for that all-star spot at second base. And as we mentioned, Kobe Mayo's first career extra base hit. So a lot to like, but a lot squandered. So it's going to leave a sour taste in O's fans' mouths. If you're watching this early on the replay, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of the game. It's late. It's 1:34, man. And if you're listening in the car the day after, just want to say thank you so much for tuning in here on the Orioles Postcast. Tomorrow, it's right-hander Charlie Morton scheduled against right-hander Luis Severino. Severino was the big signing that no one really expected the A's to make. 1 win, 5 losses this season with a 4.54 ERA, and that's a 10.05 first pitch on Masson. Would be a good time to update you on the state of the podcast. I am on the road. I got UFL coverage on Sunday night. I am flying tomorrow to St. Louis, Missouri. We will have a show if all the technology kicks in on Saturday. So Saturday night into Sunday morning, I'll have 1 hour gained with a 9:05 Central first pitch, and we'll have a show as normal, just in a little bit of a different setting. And then Sunday, I will be out of pocket. Not sure how long this trip is going to go. With some recent developments here on the professional side, likely will return Monday and then be back in action here in this studio on Tuesday. I want to say thanks for sticking with me here as things are moving. They're shaking a little bit. I'm going to take a look at the comment section. There's some righteous profanity here, like some really like well earned and well deserved profanity. And I think it's echoing all just kind of the same sentiments that we had. The O's are coming up short in big moments. And this was not the night to do that, especially with all the momentum here. And the O's saw their postseason odds increase overnight. I think it was from 2.8 to 3.7 on FanGraphs or something along those lines. Minimal, marginal, doesn't matter. Marginal. But we carry on, and I'll be with you tomorrow night on this Baltimore Orioles postcast. I want to say thank you so much for watching here late at night. O's After Dark, 1:36 as we sign off. Leave a comment, review. Let me know what you thought of the show and of the season so far. Anything you'd like to change. I'll say goodnight, stay safe, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.